This is at Trustworthy Slav.
This is at Incognito, COH.
CRK, Black Dot Compilled.
This is the Fed Post.
And this is where it's kind of like the bumpers on the edge of the bowling lane kind of framing that politics has in the States is like sometimes it kind of feels like the only thing debated about regarding COVID was just like, oh, we just don't want to wear these masks, these symbols. And it's like, yeah, I mean, like, also, like, I don't love that our currency is collapsing. You know what I mean? Masks were kind of like a symbolic aspect of it. And I think that sometimes it definitely got treated as like more than symbolic. It was just kind of like, this is like the extent of our political horizons when it comes to like being COVID critical.
Yeah. And it was the battleground. It's like them people arguing in the supermarket. It's like, it's the individualist thing. It's like, this is the politics. Like, who's wearing a mask in a store and who isn't? Like, that's the whole conversation about everything that's going on. But again, like the thing with the left too is that they've never acknowledged, and they never will, that like all the inflation that we're all dealing with right now that's actively evaporating everybody's savings, and any increase in raises or just lowering everybody's standard of living is directly because of the COVID bailouts. So, but all that stuff is just sort of lost. But I do find it annoying of like some of the right towards that just like only care about the mask thing. Like, oh, the mask is the number one thing. And I never hear them talk about the other shit. And it's just like, again, everybody's just in the, the squabbling in the grocery over making the video, squabbling over the mask. Like that's the main arena for politics, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's the low hanging fruit. And also like Slav was saying, it is symbolic, and like most of politics, right, is just kind of signaling, and it's just like these signs and these symbols. And so it makes sense in that sense that it would be, the most salient topic amongst the COVID thing. Yeah, I mean, like politics is like team sports. It's like professional sports for mentally ill people.
Yeah, exactly. And as far as like what Fredo said, I've always brought this up, but like Fredo said this on Good Old Boys, where it was like the mask is like it's really the only way to remind people that the situation is going on, because people would forget otherwise. Oh yeah. And that's really, really true. It's just like, so it is like an annoyance thing. It is relatively trivial, but there is like part of, it's a subtle mechanism to a broader thing of like, hey, if there were no masks, would you guys even remember that there's a bubonic plague going on? Probably not. You probably would forget all the fucking time. So there's that mechanism to it.
Well, it's conditioning, bro.
I noticed myself doing that. Today I was walking around the store and I looked up and I noticed that like 6 or 7 people around me had masks on. And it's the first time I've noticed that in quite a significant period of time, to where like it jarred me. I was like, wait, what? And then so I thought, I guess something new must have come out, like some news story must have dropped about some surge or some new variant or whatever. But it's like that kind of like reminded me. So I caught myself doing it today.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. How you feeling, Suich? You feeling any better? Or?
Yeah, I'm all right, man. I think I just got this rare strain of Wook flu. I was down at the beach seeing fish over the weekend, and so I got I think I just kind of wore myself out, and then the change of seasons combined with that, and just kind of wore me down. I got some sort of sinus thing, or I don't know, something like that going on. But I got tested for my work, and I don't have the coof. So
hell yeah, brother, it's still going strong. Did you ever get it?
No. Amazing. Not yet.
Chad,
not that I know of.
Chad immunity. No, yeah. I mean, like, it's what I was talking to Slav about this before, but it's just like, it's like the COVID itself isn't really that bad. It's like, yeah, it's, it's whatever. It's more annoying, again, just like,
I just don't want to take time off of work.
But it's the work time off, and also like the fact it's basically like pre-COVID, like if you had a flu or a cold and your boss was just like, hey, how's that going? It's like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, like, leave me alone. Like, bro. It's just added baggage for something that's like relatively
Hey, you feeling all right? Yeah, great. Flu shots work. Back the fuck off, man. What the fuck are you talking about?
Just weird energy. Yeah.
Weird, this is
Dwight
fucking,
from
You don't need to know what's going on inside my body. I feel like that shouldn't need to be said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's something that, like, even beyond the vaccine mandates, that's another level of which, like, your employer is kind of prying further into your life and your privacy with this COVID stuff. Because, like, if you tell them, oh, I have the sniffles today, like you're saying, usually that might just be like you stay home a day and you drink some tea and, like, you come back tomorrow and hopefully you've loaded up on, like, pseudoephedrine or something and you're good to go. But now it's like, all right, well, I'm going to need you to go and get this test. I'm going to need you to text me as soon as you leave. Text me when you get your results. I'm going to need to, people, it's just crazy now.
I'm going to need you to suck my fucking balls, dude. It's
dude.
I have a cold, dude. Like, get away from me.
Like, yeah, bro, I got a tummy ache. It's all right. Like,
I think my Tum's going to be all right. Like because my GF got it. And she was telling me, she's like, honestly, I wish I just hadn't even fucking taken a test because it's nothing. Like, it felt like it was nothing. Right. Mm-hmm. And she's unvaccinated. And it was we both got a cold not that long ago. And it was like a super mild cold, one of the lightest colds I've ever had. COVID was less than that. Right. Or this variant, if you want to frame it that way. Right. Mm-hmm. And yeah, she was just like, man, I wish I just hadn't even fucking tested because my life could have just gone on. It's a fucking pain in the ass, man, just having to jump through all the fucking hoops. And I mean, look, are there conditions in which hoops make a little bit of sense? Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, I don't know, man. It's
don't make the conditions and then make the goddamn hoops I gotta jump through too, though. You know what I mean? Like, if there were some other conditions and had level-headed people running things, and we were like, all right, this is a big issue that's happening. Let's all get together and decide that there should be some hoops we need to put into place. Sure.
It's just funny talking about this now because it feels like I don't know. It's just funny because it's like this whole conversation about like what reasonable COVID policy would have looked like. It's like it feels so out of date now. You know what I mean? Yeah. Especially just given what we know of just like this conversation is only relevant to just like such specific groups of people, and like such a small amount of professions would ever actually need to consider any of this shit.
We've crossed the Rubicon. I agree. Yeah, we've gone overboard. We've gone too far. There's nothing to talk about. Like, oh, the right way to do it. It's just it's over.
Yeah, it feels like that was like something we like talked about like 2 years ago. You know what I mean? Now it's just like it's the fucking the stone toss comic of just like, and this is gonna sell burgers. Burgers, like this is gonna stop COVID. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? There's no stopping it.
The right way to do like a COVID response would have been to just never have done gain of function testing in the first fucking place. Never have a goddamn COVID fake ass pandemic in the first place. That's really how you prevent it.
How about not having that email chain where with Plandemic 2020? How about not doing that? How about not having that voice, that Zoom call between the tech billionaires? But anyways, yeah.
No better vaccine than that.
Yeah. But okay, so I guess the two things we're going to talk about. So we're going to talk about Madison Cawthorne. I'm kamikazing into that. I'll do it alone if I have to.
This is your topic. That's your passion project.
Yeah, and it's going to break into the electoral stuff. But okay, so there's that, and there's.
You're just trying to unload some latent homophobia. That's all that's happening here.
Yeah, that's fine.
Absolutely. We got to stop the monkeypox. Anyway, so Uvalde shooting.
Happy Pride Month, y'all.
Yeah. Dude, you guys want to talk about how we can really manage the next pandemic?
Yeah, right. We're talking about prevention. But okay, so Uvalde, is that how you say Uvalde shooting? Uvalde, or
I don't know.
Dude, I don't even fucking know. I've only seen the word.
Yeah, I'm not in the habit of memorizing names of made up fake towns.
Whoa, shit. Made up fake events. We're stepping into the Alex Jones territory.
Yeah, bro. I mean, they all sound crazy. It's like what Sleepy Hollow or whatever was that first one with the kids.
Sleepy Hollow with Johnny Depp.
Yeah, the Johnny Depp crossover.
Yeah.
Oh shit!
Wasn't there one in Tulsa now too?
There's one every fucking week, bro. That's what I was saying, bro. We recorded a week and a half ago. I was like, well, this happens every fucking week, and it's like,
I mean, it happens every week now. Like, I feel like we got like the mass shooting show went on hiatus for like 2 years. I feel like, but yeah, I was just gonna say this cements it in my mind of I think that Tulsa, Oklahoma, is without a doubt the most psyops town in modern America. Like, it's just like every other fucking week there's some fucking some psyop news story that has to do with Tulsa. Honestly, I'm getting to the point where I'll unironically start thinking that Tulsa doesn't exist. Yeah, dude, fuck this town.
Oh, I'm just seeing now multiple shootings at a hospital. Any idea on motives or?
I don't fucking know. I just probably some crazy.
Oh,
person.
Look at this. This is kind of based, actually. Tulsa suspect targeted surgeon he blamed for pain.
He blamed for pain?
Yeah. A man who blamed his surgeon for ongoing pain after a recent back surgery brought an AR-style rifle hours before opening fire at a Tulsa medical office, killing surgeon and 3 other people before fatally shooting himself. Now, very sad and tragic, but back pain will do it to you. I can't confess. I do be having a bad back, and every now and again, I do be thinking about my doctors and seeing red.
Fellas will literally go shoot up a hospital before going to see a chiropractor.
Going to see a therapist about your bad back. Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, well, shit. Yeah, I mean,
were you guys not aware of that one?
No, I didn't.
No,
I just
had no
Tulsa.
idea. It's breaking. You're breaking this right now.
Dude, will your boy Slav ever steer you guys wrong? I'm telling you, number one psyop town in America. Tulsa I'm watching you, Tulsa. All right? That's all I'm saying. And this is not a threat of anything, like this.
Tulsa's on notice.
Exactly, dude. Tulsa's on notice.
Get KW Miller keeping an eye on him.
100%.
Well, this the back thing, yeah. I mean, shit. I mean, the Uvalde thing and this thing. Again, I think there's like a shooting every fucking week or whatever, and the ones that come up in the news are selective. Just like police brutality is definitely happening all the time. They blow it up when it's convenient to distract from something else that's going on or midterms.
I mean, obviously this doesn't really describe the Texas shooting, since that was like insane numbers. But yeah,
the Texas one. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, again, yeah, I feel like, again, we were sort of having this debate. I don't know if we did this one public or Patreon, but like we were having this debate of like the Fed versus the civic society aspect. Obviously, it's both to some degree. And, this one's interesting because this one, the Texas one, there's no like, it's Hispanic kid doing it to other Hispanic kids. So now there's no racial element. There's no Wignat or Hotep element to it. It's sort of like, and that's why it's fallen back to, sort of the baseline thing, which is a gun control debate. That's what, if there's no narrative, if there's no convenient racial narrative, then it's going to fall to the gun control debate.
I mean, it's always going to fall to the gun control debate, but I think that this distracts a little bit less. It can just be completely about gun control.
Yeah, because Buffalo, they're like, oh, white supremacy is doing this, and if it's the Hotep guy, it's like black supremacy or whatever. So I feel like that's the go-to of like, oh, there's like a media engine that's generating these narratives, less about the guns. But this is strictly, now we're back into another oldie but a goodie, like abortion. We've got gun control. This is a classic, American classic.
Oh yeah.
Never dies, never fucking dies. Yeah, we're playing the hits. We're going back to the well. I mean, I don't know. I guess we should say our baseline gun takes, I guess. I don't know. I don't even know if we've ever talked about that.
Economy's tanking. We're going to disempower the working class. Let's go, dude. Fucking give up those guns. Yeah. That's where I stand on it.
Yeah, I don't fuck with it. I'm not pro gun control. No.
What's the proposal they're going to do? Is there anything
they're talking about?
Congress?
Well, they're talking about the usual suspects of magazine limits. I mean, the big news that we haven't even touched on at all is that Canada just banned all. Yeah, that fucking little shyster just banned all sales of handguns in Canada, which is
handguns. Wow,
and
it's fucking huge.
And they're also banning the just the possession of assault weapons and instituting a buyback program.
Which obviously it's like Reddit tier to point out this little factoid every time, but like assault weapons means absolutely nothing.
Yeah,
it's a loaded statement. So yes, gun control is fucking gay. It's whack as hell. It was whack as hell when Reagan did it. It's whack as hell when anybody does it. It's whack as hell when Joe Biden fucking in a fever dream does it. I don't really know how successful any of this, and obviously they've proposed handgun bans in the States now too. I don't really know how viable any of this stuff is actually going to be, but I don't really think that it necessarily has to be all that viable because I think the main Dem playbook is to just like promise you the moon. And then when you obviously don't get even 2% of what they promised, you just get them to hate vote against Republicans. And then that's the whole electoral strategy, right? So, yeah. I don't know.
So I don't really know what's been proposed or whatever. I mean, all I see in the news, like I'm seeing the news and they're like, oh, background checks, banning AR-15s. What else is there? There's I don't know. That's the two I always hear. I'm trying to think if there's something else. But
I think there's age limits for
age limits. Right?
They're moving them up on some specific types of guns to 21 instead of 18 is what they want to do.
Right. I just feel like, talking about viability, like I feel like I've heard this a million times. I've heard background checks a gazillion times. So it's just one of those things where, you know how they say like, oh, the thoughts and prayers is like an empty platitude. Like it's become where the background checks is like a empty platitude. Like the funny thing is all things considered, thoughts and prayers seems like the thing said that's least guilty of being an empty platitude, to be completely honest, because it's not masquerading as like someone intending to do something.
Yeah, you're not.
It's somebody just communicating concern, which is at the very least like significantly less cynical than all the other shit.
Yeah, it's not a bill of goods.
Yeah.
So are you guys opposed to the background check aspect? I don't really know much about that.
I think personally, the issue with this topic, and this is, people could accuse me of sounding zealous with this, and that's fine. But the issue with this is that it's death by 1,000 cuts. I mean, you find a position. I mean, this is Dem shit 101 a lot of the time, but like you find a position that's so universally reasonable, right? Oh my gosh, everyone is you're only being put out a little bit by this background check. And then you take another little inch, and then you take another little inch, and then you take another little inch. And the problem is that compromises in this topic are only ever going to go one way, And so personally, while I can understand that like a lot of small incremental reforms for gun control are patently not the most dramatic, unreasonable thing in the world. I guess I'm just saying it's a slippery slope. So I'm basically just against it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much 100% against it. And to be totally honest, I would, if nothing else, I would just, in this case, even just cite, just the tried and true culture war dismissal argument of just being like, with literally everything going on right now, you're going to go to honest working people and tell them to give their fucking guns up.
Yeah.
And tell them to take on yet another handicap in the power games. Like, no, you know what I mean? Absolutely not.
Yeah, it's one of those things like you give them an inch, they're going to take a mile. Like you sit down and you agree with them. All right, let's do background checks. Because I was thinking about this pretty hard, and I was like, I mean, like, I don't think that like intellectually I have a problem with like if you wanted to check for violent felonies or whatever. But as a principle, it's like, you know, how are they going to bend that to say like, oh, well, a background check now actually includes a, you know, a social credit report. A background check also includes, you know, all sorts of these different things. And it's like Slav said, once you start ceding ground, they just start taking it. They start taking it. And once again, we all know this. This is just a symptom, not the cause. So just like trying to take, if we put background checks on guns now, that's not going to fucking stop people going out and murdering people. If they took all the guns away, it's not going to stop people going out and murdering people. People are fucked right now because the economy is fucked. Our culture is fucking sadistic, and people don't have anything to cling on to because everything, like, down is up is down, and shit is changing by the goddamn minute, and they're keeping you just overloaded with bullshit. And so, yeah, of course people are snapping. You're not meant to live this way. You're not meant to exist in the way that we are doing it. We're living in a mode that is anti-human and anti-life, and these externalities are going to come out. And so taking away a magazine or doing a background check is not going to do anything materially to change that. But what it is going to do is start ceding ground to the ruling class and telling them, yeah, you can take our guns. You can, you know, take our shit. You can make us more docile citizens. You can make us easier to control. I mean, you saw in the same day, Canada's talking about they're also going to legalize possession of opioids up to 2.5 grams and other things like that. You fucking shitting me? They're taking away your guns and then they're going to put you on fentanyl.
Fucking go off.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say most of my life, I would say I was more pro gun control. I'd say more recently, just like a lot of things, a lot of social things, I've just sort of checked out kind of. I just, again, it's just hearing the same shit over and over and over and over for year after year. It's just, I can't really muster up much passion about the topic at all. Again, yeah, exactly what Seward said. Again, I think everyone knows what I'm going to say. This is a distraction. This is you know, you take away the guns and people will kill each other one way or another. They're going to stab each other. They're going to bomb each other. Mm-hmm. They're going to beat the shit out of each other. They're going to drive cars through each other. They're going to find some way to the rage is still there. They're going to get it out one way or another. You know, there's ways to do it in sizable numbers without guns, or just get guns illegally. Yeah, people will find a way. As far as like general background checks, I really don't have much of an issue with it. It seems pretty like, I don't know. Yeah, you're making the slippery slope thing. I think I would agree that they'll definitely want to go past that. That makes sense to me. And, you know, there's always a debate of like what you'd want an ideal government to do and what you'd imagine your current government to do. Exactly. In an ideal government, I would have no issue with background checks. That makes perfect sense to me. I mean, you know, I feel like a lot of the right is very concerned with like, you know, you ever done one thing bad in your life, any crime, you should carry that for the rest of your life. You should be like, you know, permanent probation and all that. So like, I feel like that, I don't get why that wouldn't apply to the gun thing. Well, I just mean like, you know, if you've committed a crime, you know, you're just sort of like, you're branded as a criminal for life. You know what I mean? Like you don't get not much of a second chance.
Like as far as like checking the box on job applications. And
yeah, shit like that.
Shit like that. Okay. Yeah.
And you know, background checks on just like, oh, you know, yeah, exactly, the job stuff and all that. So like, I just feel like I don't get why that wouldn't apply to. I don't get why like some random kid who's completely fucking nuts, an office rocker, can just get a gun extremely easily and get an assault rifle or a AR-15 very easily. That seems fucking nuts to me. But again, as far as whether this government would, you know, actually do that in an effective way, who knows? A bigger thing before even that is, can they even do it?
Yeah,
I don't think so. And as far as like the, you know, a lot of the right, I guess their mindset is like, okay, one day they're going to take all our guns. I have a different mindset about this. I have a mindset that guns are so deeply ingrained in American culture that you'll never get rid of them. Yeah, I was talking about this earlier too today of like the cars versus trains debate that's going on because of the gas prices. the car thing. There's like a left LARP thing of like,
is there a cars versus trains debate going on right now?
Yeah, there's some cringe shit where people are posting like, oh, I love car culture, like, and just posting like 50s photos in cars, whatever.
And then
like,
people with autism are logging
like,
on, being like, I got something to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, leftoids are like posting, trains. I love trains, and it's just
They're posting trolley cars, talking about look at what they took from us.
Yeah, there's cringe everywhere. And it's just I'm not like so opposed to infrastructure for trains or whatever.
No, I like trains.
That's
Public transport would be good.
Yeah, it's a funny thing to even say, like China's methodology of how they handle all that. But either way, it's one nice thing I'll say about China. I'll never say anything else nice about China. But yeah, like getting rid of cars, like there's this left LARP position of like, let's get rid of all cars, right? Because they can't just say anything reasonable. Everybody's got to say something insane. So they want to say that and get rid of all guns. And it's like, listen, I'm sure, they've gotten rid of guns in a lot of developed countries, to whatever extent you can do it, aside from people obtaining it illegally or whatever. But, and, I'm sure they could cite a bunch of ways that it's like improved society, whatever. But in general, America is just violent. America is violent. America is inherently violent, very libertarian. It's just our nature. And, and again, like you're never going to get rid of the fucking guns. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? You got to accept that one. You got to accept it. It's like get rid of cars, get rid of guns, get rid of racism. These are things that like someone who's never lived in America could only say, you know what I mean? Or like a child, you know what I mean? It's like walk around America, talk to people, get a sense of this country, and look me in the eyes and tell me that that's something that's really feasible in all seriousness. Of course it isn't. So it's just something that's just, I can't relate to the fear of like Biden's going to roll through and take all our guns. I can't really, and I'm very paranoid. Obviously, I'm very conspiratorial and paranoid. But for some reason, that one I just can't envision. I can't envision it because, again, it's too ingrained. The Boogaloo boys and all that. Well, I mean, that's like a fringe segment or whatever. But like just the overall, like you go to rural areas in America and try that. I mean, like
yeah.
Well,
it would be like like Afghanistan. It would just be like shootouts and all that. It would be a mess. It would be extremely difficult. I mean, you could do it. You could probably win and do it, but the cost would be insane. So it's not. It's a stalemate thing, really. It's not going to happen.
I mean, I think this is just a discussion, honestly, just about enforcement with any of these kinds of sweeping moves in the United States, where like the hinterlands, like rural areas are always going to have guns. Mm-hmm. But I mean, you can take that shit away in New York City, Seattle, LA.
They already have largely.
Yeah. I mean, and it's like you swap out a couple key words here, and this is the same exact conversation we have had about everything related to COVID. I mean, this is what the conversation is in a pretty explicit way that everyone even openly acknowledges about abortion, right? Like, I think you're onto something, but also, I don't live in the fucking country, so I am concerned about Joe Biden taking fucking guns away, because I'm not in the fucking country, you know what I mean? And I wasn't in the fucking country when the horrible vax shit happened, you know what I mean? Right. I mean, this is just how it's always
more like pressing
be
around you. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. I mean, like I'm in a place where it's blue. Like enforcement is actually viable, right? Because it's not just like, it's not a sheriff's department covering, dozens of miles, right?
And also, let's be fair, most Americans live in places like that as well if we're going population breakdown. So
yeah, if we're talking just raw numbers of population, exactly, right? So I think it's concerning. I think that like big sweeping enforcement just isn't the name of the game. And I think that it doesn't really fucking matter, because what we just talked about as far as population centers, and you look at the economic future of rural hinterlands. I mean, they're totally gutted, right? There's nothing there, right? So, I mean, all you really need to do is just is just popularized this within the party, and then have local leaders follow suit, and you functionally get the same thing. So yeah, I mean, I'm pretty concerned about it. I don't at the same time, like I think that there's really something to be said also, though, for just like there's not enough incentive for Democrats to just shoot their wad all at once. And so, yeah, maybe we'll get expanded background checks. I could see clip capacity being a thing, but you keep the issue on the table, right? So you can keep going back to it. And I gotta say, and this is the thing that I'm most interested in with this is maybe I'm being fucking goldfish memory here, but like I don't think that the midterms are as much of a shoe-in for the GOP as we previously thought, just because like I mean, the DNC psyops are just so rigorous.
Dude, they're pumping them out like overtime right now. Dude. It started with abortion, it started with the Roe v. Wade leak, and now we're pumping right through like 40 mass shootings in a week. Like,
yeah, bro. Like, I don't.
We're gonna get an iceberg melted by a laser beam, and just look at this iceberg; it disappeared overnight. We gotta vote for the Democrats. These polar bears are black now.
I wonder if right now, there's just like work being done on just like branding, just like absolute Ukrainian defeat against Russia as like something that we need to just like rally libs around also. Like that's going to be the next psyop, because we've been getting sold on like Russia's just like getting their cheeks clapped, and it's just absolutely not accurate at all. They're winning pretty handily, just albeit slowly because they have a different fucking military than we do. And I wonder if that'll be one of the next things. I imagine
to like save Ukraine.
Not even necessarily. No, not even that necessarily. It's just straight up being like, actually Russia won this conflict, and that's another trauma that we need to just like inundate your nervous system with and motivate you to go to the polls for some weird abstract fucking reasons that I can't even come up with right now. Like I don't know what end it would be.
Yeah, like vote Dem so you could save the Ukrainians.
Yeah, vote Dem because the only 11 people that didn't vote for this $40 billion Ukraine aid package were Republicans.
Yeah,
because those defense contractors need another $40 billion to save Ukraine.
And like I said, like I really do think like a lot of this is just as simple as just being like promise the moon, and then when you can't deliver any of that, you just blame it on Republicans and just motivate people to hate vote against them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what all the poster childs of the DNC do, or at least the rising stars that kind of play the heel, like AOC and the Cory Bush and the Squad and the such. They all just show up, say a bunch of crazy shit that'll never happen, that they won't even ever try to propose into law ever. And then they just don't do nothing. And then they're like, oh, man, it sucks because actually this was all like Trump's fault, or this is all Lauren Boebert's fault, or for some shit. Marjorie Taylor Greene's.
Damn, it's like really hard. It's really tough that we couldn't outlaw cars. But I did my best, and, I was taking the most politically savvy moves that I could. And it just didn't work out because Republicans are white supremacists, and that's why we still drive cars.
And they'll say, the NRA lobbying is what's keeping the background checks. And, I mean, to whatever truth there is to that. Either way, like when you think about what is being talked about, again, it's like that. I always sing that Kamala thing where she was like, we're going to give a loan to this type of person who's been in this community for 5 years of this type of race, and like so means tested that it's just like, again, this is tinkering on the margins. There's a lot of what politics is on the electoral level. It's just background checks. Really, really, like say you're someone who's really like, oh my God, my friend died from an AR-15. Like we have to stop. And the kid got the gun like with a mental illness and criminal record, and got the gun like for nothing easily. And you're just like, we need to stop this or whatever. Say you think like that. Like this is nothing. This is fucking nothing. Like this is shit. Like really tinkering on the margin shit. Like if they really were to just get rid of all guns, at least that's something. That's something changing. At least who knows? I don't even know what America would look like after that. But that's something that's just like a change. This is why I check out of all this shit, because it's so like it's all tinkering and fiddling with things that just like on the margins, on the very margins of what's really going on, of the country dissolving basically. So it's just like that's really what it looks like to me.
I remember when I saw my my best friend and my daughter and all of my family gunned down brutally in school. Watched them all have their brains blown out. And ever since then, all I can think about, I'm obsessed with background checks.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Exactly.
It's capacity constraints.
Yeah, it's so like cold blooded.
I'm not gonna give it too much of a hard time though, because like the absolute cucked, the cucked incremental nature of representative democracy in this particular case is something that isn't working against my interests. Like, I'm fine with them keeping their horizon set on background checks instead of fucking banning all handguns. I'm not going to make fun of it too much because I'm reaping the benefits, but I get what you're saying. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of,
it just seems like everything that's discussed on like, a Senate floor or something is just things in really the margins. You know what I mean? Like when you really think about what's being said, like on the Republican side of the Democrat side, it's like, bro, what the fuck? Like this is like some footnote shit. Really was what they're pushing for. And it's like what Slav said, that's how people get their votes. Is like, hey, I'll give you this little footnote, marginal thing that no one will even remember. But this is what they'll do.
They'll spin it in the New York Times by having articles like one that I read yesterday that says House moves to pass most sweeping gun control reform in U.S. history. Right. That's what they'll do.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, no, it's just like just the other day, fucking they went to ratify Roe v. Wade as law, and it just immediately gets fucking shut down, right? Like, they just always you just brand it as like, this is a historic vote, this is a historic move, and you're like, oh my god, like it almost feels like I didn't come in at the end of the story and nothing ever fucking happens, and this is a fucking stupid baby game, padded cell, make believe game. Because historic things are happening, and then of course it's like, oh well, it didn't happen, and then fucking put the chip into the NPC head, and you just say, oh, it was the Republican Party, it was the NRA. Oh God,
it's like how.
I'm going to spite vote now.
Yeah, the last election. Yeah, this is all it is. Spite votes is like, it's like the last election was the most important election in history, and the one before that, and the next one, and the one after that. It's all. Do you guys think high stakes, but there's no stakes. And like the homeless man who's just like apolitical, like doesn't is just checked out of all politics. Like, oh, they're all the same. I'm not checking any of that. Nothing ever changes. You check in after like decades, and nothing's really. It's basically true. Like nothing. What were you gonna say?
Oh, I was just going to say, do you think that the next election is going to be the most important in history?
Of course. Every election is the most important in history.
Yeah, you guys are probably right.
But this is why, we'll get it. This is a good bridge to the Cawthorne thing, because this is why I'm going to be harping on not vote. But yeah, we gotta get to this Madison Cawthorne thing. We have to.
Oh my gosh!
I'm 30 minutes.
I'm tweaking.
Honestly, at this point, I'm like half regretting that we didn't just do like a bonus full 2-hour thing of just you, just a solo content, like fucking you just talking into a ham radio going full schizo for 2.
Because you guys are having a great convo. I'm listening, and the whole time I'm like bubbling. I'm like tweaking. I'm like, yo, but what about this Madison? What about this trivial bullshit that we're gonna forget in a couple months? Shit. But anyway,
we're not even gonna remember who Madison Cawthorne.
We're not even gonna remember. Yeah. It's a quick convo. It's really not gonna take long. I just think it's a funny story. It's a very funny story, and it kind of leaks into some other electoral stuff.
I mean, for the record, I'm making fun of it. I do think it's politically relevant.
Yeah, and it's just, well, it's a funny story. It's a one-off. I'm not overinflating the value of this thing. This thing is going to go. No one's going to remember this. It's already probably forgotten by now by the time this comes out. But yeah, Madison Cawthorne had a tweet where he was exposing his colleagues in Congress for having coke orgies. I don't know who he was specifically talking about. I think he left it vague. I don't know if it was a tweet or he was on a podcast, but he was talking about like, GOP Congress members or whatever having coke orgies or whatever, and just, they're degenerates. And Madison Cawthorne is obviously on the, there's a big schism on the GOP now of like the guys who have the Trump favor and the guys who don't, right? The guy, Trump's the kingmaker.
Right, he's MAGA.
The guy, he's the guy who puts the sword on the shoulder for who's got the brand, and everybody else is too neocon like establishment, So that's sort of the dynamic that's playing out. And the Dems are constantly like, why don't the Republicans, why don't they distance themselves from Trump?
Right.
They're doing all that bullshit.
Can we just get a little more decency in the Republican Party? If only everybody could be like Mitt Romney. I mean, I just got back from his house. He was letting me fuck his wife and daughter.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They're very panicked when they talk about it because Trump has so much influence. And it's like, it's sort of this thing of like, yo, why do you keep talking about Trump? He's gone. You rigged him out. Well, you fortified him out. You fortified him out, and he's gone. Like, what do you guys keep talking about him? He's like golfing on Mar-a-Lago, but they have to keep talking about it because he still has influence, and he might do this 2024 thing.
Yeah, because they're worried he's going to win the election.
Yeah, and he's still even if he doesn't run, he has massive influence over a segment of the GOP, which I personally think, I voted for Trump, and I like him more than the establishment GOP, but I think his wing is sort of a watered down wing. And this Madison Cawthorne guy, like, I think he's sort of like that. He has some videos where he's like, the swamp hates me. And it's very like, I don't know. It's very like over the top or whatever, like ham-fisted or whatever. But either way, he exposed these fucking disgusting reptiles for what they do, for what we all know that they do. Eyes wide shut shit, behind closed doors.
Right.
And he's probably more human than they are, to whatever degree that is. He's probably less of a freak than them, and probably might have been actually shocked that they were doing that. But obviously, with the nature of these, I don't know,
bro.
Things,
he looks like a test tube person. Like, he looks like he just like
Well, he's a diversity hire,
dude. Look at him; he's in a wheelchair, bro. I'm not even convinced that he's even paralyzed.
I'm being, but yeah, I'm okay. I'm being generous. Anyways, but the nature of these things, which we discussed about, like, and the way some of the leftists operate or whatever, it's like they have dirt on each other. They don't let you in the circle unless they got dirt on you. Right. So the only reason they could let him even see that they were, fucking each other and their interns.
He was there doing it too,
because he's indulged. Maybe he wasn't there doing that specific thing, but he's got his own dirt, which
obviously, given some mechanical realities for Mr. Cawthorne, I'd imagine he's a bottom.
No, not from what I saw in the video. He seemed like a top. Not that I watched it. Not that I like watched it over and over. I didn't do that.
Shit.
But
he's on top of a fucking wheelchair. That's what I'll give him.
Sir K's just watching it at home. He's like, "Oh, it's just research, babe."
It's just like you know that Kubrick actually made them take upwards of 70 takes each scene.
Yeah. Well, he is pretty jacked. He's like a Chad, except for the whole,
All right.
But anyways, it's so funny. They were showing like the TPUSA or whatever, some stage, and it's like everybody from every different race, and maybe like the MAGA queer lady, whatever, and trans MAGA or whatever, and the one guy in the wheelchair. It's just like an ad. It's like a lib ad of we got everything. We got one of everything.
It looks like a new Marvel superhero team in the comics.
Bro, I was literally about to say that.
It was like some hard right winger that posted it, and it was like, "Look at the state of things." He was black though. That shit was mad funny. But anyways, yeah. But either way, yeah, they had. See, this shit is kind of funny. But anyways, they had dirt. They had dirt on him, and like some random shit. The cross dressing thing. They caught him like cross-dressing with some girls.
I was thinking about that right winger posting that, talking about look at the state of things, and I'm cracking up right now because I'm thinking I'm putting myself in my grandpa's shoes or something. He's just going out, voting George W, doing his thing, just normal, Alabama Republican voting man, right?
Sure.
And if you just looked at like the future of the Republican Party, and that was who was on stage. What the fuck happened?
Is this what they fought for in World War II?
Talk about people that I can't recommend go to the church to do some political organizing.
Yeah, for real, bro. Like, where my country going?
Well, dude, this is making me think of the fucking Kyle Rittenhouse Trap remix. Right?
Wait, the what?
Bro, come on, bro. You seen it? We talked about this before.
Trap remix.
No, not a little song.
Well, I mean, there was a song, but I mean, like,
there was
the TPUSA and then playing like,
they
commissioned me to do the song. I actually did the song.
Looking up the beats.
Yeah, I did it.
They just had like the computer voice saying this is the Fed Post edited out, but dude, it's. I mean, listen, all right. My take on this is. I'm not going to be too drawn out just because I don't know if you were done yet, but I mean, crazy thing, like MAGA has been around for like 7 fucking years now.
Yeah.
And looking a little, rode hard, put away wet, little bit of a battle axe here. And really the real insight I'm trying to make here is just like, it's been around for a while. Like, it can't really be like that pure and that chic anymore. Now, am I saying that it's like not at all politically viable in any capacity? I'm not saying that. It's not really like my pick of the litter necessarily. But yeah. So, I mean, when I look at like Madison, Cawthorne,
I think. Yeah,
Cawthorne. Yeah, Cawthorne's not even a real fucking name, dude. This guy's as fake as Tulsa. He literally looks like a politician, right? Yes, he's not like this fucking guy who like ran for state senate like a year ago or something. I feel like you guys remember this. He like ran for state senate and like his entire campaign budget was like $110, and like 20% of that was just like buying Dunkin' Donuts for a couple people that worked for him. Like, and he won his race, right? He was just like a trucker who was just like, fuck this vaccine shit. Like I feel like a lot of the time people want to act like MAGA is still that. And like maybe, and I'm sure it is in some cases, right?
These people are lizards, though, dude. Look at this guy. Look at him. I would never trust him telling me nothing.
Because I didn't really know if he was on the neocon wing or the MAGA wing. I really couldn't tell at first. But he's got that Trump endorsement.
And I still want to say, like, I still think that, like, it's a net negative that like a person in the MAGA faction was ousted by fucking neocons. Like, that's still bad, right? Like, he's still the slug that you root for when you're like looking at the other slug that's like worse, right?
Yeah, sure.
But
like,
yeah, I mean, like,
masters are the same. It's like you look at that dude, you're like, what the hell is this guy? He looks like a literal snake. Like he may be reptilian actually, but at the end of the day, you're like, yeah, dude, he's out here saying like we should keep our guns. They rigged the election. He's saying the shit that like I generally agree with. So yeah, I would prefer him to these other slugs, but he's still a fucking slug, dude. Yeah. And that's what's upsetting for me. It's like they're co-opting. It's just being so co-opted now by
absolutely
people that are just so like just sluggish. Dude, these people are pumped out of some fucking factory. People like Masters and this dude. I do not care for them. They're unsettling to me.
Yes,
but
thank you.
At the end of the day, though, it's like, God damn, why are they the only ones that are like why is that like the only viable, not even viable because it's fucking not, obviously, because these people are lizards, but like it's the only thing that's even slightly dissenting at all. Yeah, and it's just fucking lizards now.
I mean, shout out to Trump because he really broke everyone's brains. He really broke all the DNC fucks and the GOP fucks, and that's why I liked him. I mean, for all his flaws, I mean, he really broke these fucks, and he's like, he's checked out, right? Like half of these guys like Cawthorne and JD Vance and all these people kind of talk shit about Trump, and then they get the endorsement later. Like there's all like there's politicking going on of like people carefully keeping one foot in the establishment, one foot in for Trump, and everybody's playing the game.
It's all in the game, homie.
It's the game, and it's understandable, of course. That's politics, and Trump is Trump's checked out, and he's collecting his kingmaker chips. He's probably getting whatever he gets out of those endorsements, and he's looking out for numero uno, of course. Obviously, that's his whole thing, and he was a useful thing against the rest of these slugs. But I don't think there's much weight in his endorsements. If some guy's talking shit about Trump, like Cawthorne or whatever, and then years later Trump's endorsing him, obviously it's a cynical play. I don't buy it as like, oh wow, Trump looked at this guy's like, you're the guy that's going to carry the torch or whatever. That's probably where the watering down of the losing the sheen we're talking about is there. Trump's just kind of like looking for the next play, the next bag. He's a bag chaser. You gotta respect him for that. But yeah, I mean, Yeah, I mean, it's just an overall funny story, and Blake Masters, for one, he comes on the video and he's just like, are you tired of these psychopaths, these globalist elite psychopaths? And I'm like, whoa, it's kind of wild because it's just like, yes, I am. Like, whoa, you're saying exactly what I want to hear, but it's like it's so like he's so robotic and android like that it's like it glows to me. It glows like crazy. Mm-hmm. It's like, wait, it's like the guy who pops in the Discord is like, hey guys, want to start a militia or whatever? It's I do, but like, wait, why are you asking? Yeah. It's got that kind of energy. I don't know the guy. I don't know much about him. But like,
yes, I do. N-word 1488. I
do. Yeah, exactly. But like, but no, what were you gonna say?
I was going to say that people like Blake Masters to say, yeah, I do, but like, let me get a blood test real quick and make sure that shit's not cold.
Make sure that shit's not. Yeah, make sure that shit's not like that white milky fluid from Alien that comes out of the android. Honestly though, like I feel like the heart of the topic that we're talking about right here is less about like these individual factions and these individual people and just like the upper limit of bourgeois democracy, right? Yes. It's just like, oh man, like this is the best stuff we got, but goddamn, at the end of the day, they're still sons of bitches and like a bunch of lawyers and shysters and liars, and it's like, yeah, I mean that's literally always going to be the case, though. Like. Yeah. Anyways, I was going to say something else, but I'm not.
No. I and you make this point a lot, and it's a extremely valid point, and it's true. There's limits to this thing. I just again, we're always talking about the where we set our sights and our standards or whatever. I can't set my standards there. I can't personally. Like I'll vote for Trump. Like I voted for Trump. Now I'm not going to do that again in 2024. I don't even know if he's going to run again. But I voted for Trump, and I should have.
It'll be DeSantis.
Yeah, and I should have voted for him in 2016. Trump is enough of a wedge. He's not even that great, honestly, but he's enough of a wedge and a thorn in their side that I rock with that, and the isolationist stuff and all that.
I mean, dude, I'll tell you one thing for sure. I wasn't paying no fucking $4.90 a gallon for gas under Trump, and I also wasn't just like getting locked out of everywhere that I wanted to go because I didn't get some fucking
clot shot.
Clot shot bullshit Gates cum vaccine. So yeah, I mean, I prefer everything that was going on there. To what's going on right now, for sure. I know that might be a simple-minded take on it, but like, dude, I don't know.
No, I mean, I obviously prefer Trump to what's going on, but sorry, what were you gonna say, Slav?
Oh, I was just gonna sarcastically be like, yeah, dude, it's simple-minded to act in your own material interests.
Yeah.
No, like it's the most reasonable shit in the world, you're saying, and I totally agree. Also, just as a quick side note, because I fucking have to say this sophistry that goes on with libs talking about the president has nothing to do with the price of gas, as if Biden hasn't been absolutely like just like comically destructive for energy policy.
Literally,
it's driving me insane. It's driving me up the fucking wall, dude. Yeah,
and he also, he refused to fill the Federal Reserve of oil back when it was like there was like a motion to do it or something like that, and he canceled that happening.
Yes.
Back when it was like he could have filled up the Federal Reserve with like cheap ass oil, and then that would have at least helped a little bit right now, right?
Well,
and
even
didn't do that.
Even the basic shit that people dishonestly talk about with Keystone, right? Is they talk about like, oh, it wouldn't have even been done yet. It wasn't done yet. Hey, fuckhead, idiot. If you stop production on a fucking piece of infrastructure, markets react to that shit, you fucking retard. Markets fucking react to that shit. Like it's not just like it's there. I mean, it might seem like it a lot of the time, but like they're not just operated by blind retards. You know what I mean? Like you shut down a huge fucking production project. It has a fucking effect. Who would have fucking thought? And it's dishonest because people know this. People do know this. And of course he has something to do with the price of gas. And I won't even say that the price of gas would have stayed exactly the way it was if Trump had won, right? But to act like this level of severity that we're seeing right now, which $8 a fucking gallon in some places in California, I just saw.
Fucking crazy.
Give me a fucking break. You know what I mean? So
yeah. I just drove from the Midwest all the way down through the South to the coast, and the cheapest gas that I found was $4.19.
God damn.
Which is fucked up. And that might sound cheap to you because I'm sure you're getting it up the ass in Seattle, but it's like that's expensive as fuck. That's not right. And also, I don't see any way Trump would have ever let gas get this. He would have been pulling out all the stops to keep gas low because that's one of the main fucking things that like his voter base is going to actually care about. Libs don't give a fuck about the gas because they hate gas and they hate cars and they hate people, dude. They just want that shit. They think, oh, well, we're making a move against it. It's actually good. We'll have to suffer a little bit in the long run, but if no one can afford gas, no one will drive, and then blah, blah, fucking blah, blah. No, dude. Trump's base gives a fuck about gas. And like I imagine he would have pulled out any stops he could have to keep gas below. And Biden doesn't give a fuck about what his base gives a fuck about, and his base doesn't give a fuck about gas. So of course he's not going to care. And it's also like all this other shit he's been doing. Where when he first got in office, we were talking about is he going to do a mileage tax and shit like that? Is Pete Buttigieg going to put in a mileage tax on just citizens? And all of these things that he's making these pledges to move towards sustainable energy. And what he's doing is he's just cutting off our supply of energy without any viable alternative actually existing. He's not putting forth any infrastructure. He's just ripping shit down. He's just walking into the place, ripping all the posters off the wall without anything to put up or without anything like that he was going to paint or nothing like that. It's just to fuck it up for no reason.
That's been the entirety of the energy policy for this entire administration. Like 100%. And for people to act as if that's not the case it's basically lying. It's basically lying.
And like, here's my thing. Ultimately, because I am like at my heart a conservationist and a naturalist, very eco-oriented, and although this is going to be cringe, it's like sustainability to one degree or another, not the more like bourgeois idea of like green technology sustainability, but more so just like common sense shit of like, hey, we want to make sure we can be here as long as possible and use our natural resources as long as possible. I would like to see some alternative energy sources. I would like to see a shift towards nuclear power, really, is what I would really love to see. Yeah, and I would like to see public transportation spring up everywhere. And maybe a less of a, we moved to a commuter society. We didn't really have to do that. That was something that was kind of more so forced upon us. I don't know that that's really the ideal world, is that like everyone driving in from 45 minutes away to go work in a city they don't even live in and then drive 45 minutes away. Obviously, I don't think that that's probably right. So at the end of the day, do I think that like it would be better to move to some alternatives energy sources of some kind? Sure. Do I think that it would be better to have public transportation to where people don't have to drive so far and live so far from where they're working, or you could just get on a bus and take that? That would be great. Or like trains, and not to mention the fact that would help countless poor people that don't have cars or can't afford gas when it skyrockets or whatever. Do I think all those things would be great and preferable? Yes. Do I think it would be good to have, if it was economically and environmentally sound, to have solar panels on individuals' roofs to help supplement with their energy costs? Sure, why not? But like, doing what he's doing is fucking retarded, and it's not going to be good for anybody. And he's got no plan. He's just fucking shit up. I mean, maybe he has a plan, but it's not for any good. It's not for anything for any of us. It's not going to be to make the environment last longer or save the polar bears or, keep the ice caps from zapping up or whatever the fuck. It's nothing to do with that. It's just him trying to get money into fucking his cronies that make electric cars and whatever the fuck else pockets.
Like Musk.
Right. Well, we're talking about doesn't have a plan. Homie barely even has a fucking brain signal. Well, yeah. I was gonna look. I'm not as informed about the energy policy stuff as you guys, so I don't know what's going on. But I get from what I'm getting out of what you guys are saying, it's sort of like disincentivize fossil fuel stuff, but not really put up much structure for an alternative. So it's sort of like just leaving everybody holding the bag fucked.
Yes.
And I know they're blaming Russia, which is convenient. Obviously, it's the go-to for everything.
This is a form of the country being looted because it's going into these upstarts with a bunch of fucking PMC slugs in them, doing alternative energy. That's just like not ready and just like not there, and like the ladder is being pulled up behind them, and it's just a way of just giving money to their friends.
It's going to Elon Musk's blowjobs as well, which again I cannot fathom why the right likes Musk, and it blows my mind. But we'll save that for another day.
That dude is behind everything I hate. Everything I hate, he's made his entire life about.
And I like believe pandemic shit. I believe like straw man. I don't know if you guys believe it, but I'm like have a silly caricature of conspiratorial thought about lib pandemic.
Yeah,
and
bro.
He's probably one of the guys in that email chain. If there was an email chain, he's probably up there. He's getting trillions or whatever. But either way, whatever. I don't want to talk about Musk, but yeah, I mean, I think I will say like I don't. I don't think Biden's sentient. I don't think he's alive. I still don't think so. But yeah, it's not about him. It's like the machine behind him. They're pushing for these things, and they pushed for the bailouts that caused all this runaway inflation and everything. So that is. And look, I don't even know if Trump's that much better on it. But one thing I do remember was that when they were pushing one of these colossal COVID bailout bills, that's probably, who knows where the fuck that went, to PPE or to fucking more hospitals? Or yeah, sure. Where the fuck did all that go? Like the BLM money, where the fuck did that shit go? Right. But yeah, okay. So, they have these bills or whatever. And look, it goes through, I'm of a proponent that like the president doesn't have that much power, which is kind of where I kind of side with the NRX as a tool, bolster the executive branch. That's kind of a problem that the president doesn't have enough power because, these things are going to go through with or without him. So Trump can't really do much. And that's where I end up being sort of like a Trump defender of like the things he didn't do. I'm like, there's not much you could do. This thing's sort of out of your hands. But what I do remember was that Trump was like, I'm vetoing this shit. I'm not going to sign this until you put a higher stimulus check amount for people.
Yep.
So, and look, stimulus checks, I understand. That's part of inflation. It's a Band-Aid. It's not much. It's a one-time thing. I understand. Look, I'm the most, cynical black pill type of person, whatever. So I know it's not much or whatever. But I remember him holding out on that and getting crazy flack for it. And everybody was giving him shit about it. Like even some kind of like centrist people were like, "Wow, I can't believe he's fucking everybody with this."
Oh, he doesn't actually mean it. He doesn't actually mean it.
Whatever. Yeah, whatever. He knows that his base. Like, he knows he has to give them something because that's all his power is because he doesn't have any institutional establishment power. So all he has is throw us some crumbs and we fuck with him. That's all he's got. That's the whole arrangement. His whole cynical, self-interested arrangement. That's why it works. That's why it worked. But he did do things like that. And look, I can completely understand where if someone's like, well, that's not really shit. Your standards are still too low. I get that argument. But I will say I don't really see that type of shit going on with other politicians. So that was that's a small example of a thing why I kept harping on the, lesser evil thing. But yeah, Trump's gone and Trump's over with, and that's over. And we just have these mini watered down versions. But yeah, do I really blame like Biden specifically for all this? No, I mean I blame the Democrats, I blame the Republicans, I blame like a big machine. But Trump was the only thing I saw that sort of like was like a thorn, like a pebble in their shoe. That was the only thing I saw in recent years of like, to whatever Bernie was supposed to be, that wasn't that at all. Just kind of like helped them with everything. And grease their wheels. Trump was actually like a fucking annoyance to them. So there's that. That's sort of how I view the whole thing. But yeah, again, personally, to me, this new crop of GOP people or whatever, it's not enough for me. It's not enough. I think people should have higher standards than that. Yeah. That's really what I feel.
Bring back more base truckers with a $110 budget that just bought Dunkin' Donuts for his volunteers.
It's astronomically based. Well, and I think that ultimately the big takeaway of the Cawthorne story, obviously the pictures of him dressing in drag and all that shit, there was a concerted effort to get rid of him, right? And he was replaced. I forget the guy's name, but I was looking into him before.
Probably some neocon, right?
Yes, and ahead of us talking about it, I was looking into him, and yeah, I mean he's practically fucking Mitt Romney, right?
Of course.
and I think that that's relevant. One thing that I'm thinking about is like I think about the GOP people, on the ballot in my own area, and if it's any indication, I really have to wonder. Like, it seems like QAnon kind of became a separate faction in the right that was distinct from MAGA. And it kind of seems like a lot of those like schizoid wild man, like I ran on $113 in Dunkin' Donuts. And I hired lot lizards to fill out my campaign. I feel like all that energy was like sapped away from MAGA by QAnon. And I don't know, it's just interesting. And like, I feel like it's really obvious. I'm not trying to say the feds are behind every aspect of this topic, but like, it seems really obvious to me that QAnon is just Fed shit.
And co-optation, dilution.
It's literally coming apparently from a Fed, right? Or like that's like the whole thing is that someone who's like in the high ups in the right. Dude, what the hell?
No, I'm in the deep state. I'm inside there. I'm at Langley right now. Let me tell you what's up.
Boys. I'm telling you the right stuff.
Well, but actually though, right? Because I don't know if it's been like genuinely confirmed yet, and I don't know that how it ever could be, but yeah, I mean like QAnon, it's not really acknowledged in this way much, but like it was a form of COINTELPRO, right? And so it is really interesting to me that like the only really authentically kind of like wacky MAGA person that I see anymore is just Marjorie Taylor Greene. And like, yeah, I mean, like that's kind of weird, right? Like this entire wave and zeitgeist of the beginning of MAGA. And again, like let's be realistic here. It's fucking like 7 fucking years ago, right? So I mean, of course it's this way, right? But like the fact that all of that energy is only represented in one single fucking person of just like this woman who looks like a fucking baboon and is like half retarded. Like I don't know, man. And like and all of that other shit, like fucking based trucker guy, like it's or weird chiropractors that'll be on the ticket. That'll just be like, hey, I'm a chiropractor, I'm a practicing Buddhist, and I hate the fucking globalists. Vote for me. So Donald Trump is fucking enlightened. Like all of those people are just QAnon now. That's interesting. It's just weird to me.
I didn't think of that. Yeah, that's an interesting point. And yeah, I mean, the QAnon thing, I never really think much about it, but
because it's normie shit, and none of us talk about that shit.
That is kind of glowy. I have a funny memory of Alex Jones just being like, "I'm sick of you Q people. I'm tired of it. I tried to be done, but I can't take it anymore. You people driving me nuts." That shit was fucking amazing. And if he's down with it, I'm down with it. But if he's not down, then I'm following what he says. But yeah, I mean. Okay, so there's other thing that was kind of, I know we're running out of time, but there was one funny thing where he lost, right? And then he had this post on Instagram and he talks about like, they coalesced to take me out, which is true. That's totally true. They had a very coordinated way of like murking him. And then he it's the machine. You're going to lose against the machine, obviously, when you've crossed them in that way. And he has some line about talking about dark MAGA needs to come back. So the dark MAGA thing, I don't understand, right? Because I saw everybody change the avies, and I was like, "Yo, what's up with that?" Because I'm out of the loop with everything. I'm like a boomer. I'm like, what's going? What are the kids into now? What's going on with that? And they're like, "Oh, it's a joke. It's a joke." I'm like, "Oh, it's a joke," because it's like, "Oh, Trump's gonna come back and say the hard R." And he's gonna be based, and it's gonna be like
he's gonna come back and instate the American theocracy.
Oh, okay, yeah, right. Something along those lines. He's gonna go
don't
hardball.
Take it that seriously, but yeah, right, like yeah.
But then the people were telling me like, oh, I'm like, all right. I'm like, well, the one that's funny, and I'm like, all right, this is a joke, right? Because that's funny as shit. And then people were like, yeah, it's a joke for sure. I'm like, all right, it's a joke. But he posts this, and he's like, was in government, and he posted this, and he sounds very serious. So I'm wondering again, was this a joke or is it not a joke? Like, Is that a real thing that people think Trump's going to do that? Like,
it's post-ironic, dude. It's fucking. It was the magic of Trump 2016 right there. It's just like memes becoming reality, and like
holy shit,
like whether or not something's an ironic joke, the stakes of that now become the presidency. Yeah, except the magic's gone because dark MAGA is like an esoteric meme that no one at your family holiday function knows what the fuck you're talking about.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's funny. I think it's like I've seen some dark MAGA accounts that I think are doing funny jokes. I think it's a neat meme sometimes, but it's kind of it's a cope, obviously, right? Because it's just like, I mean, he's feeble and like the moment's over, right? It's fucking Hunter S. Thompson. I mean, I might be giving them too much credit. Well, they deserve more credit than the hippies. So no, it's the Hunter S. Thompson Fear and Loathing thing, right? Of just like you see the wave come up and then it broke at a certain height and then it tumbled, right? He's like talking about the 60s. And it's like that with Trump, right? Like it's really obviously over and like the wave is broken. But I guess dark MAGA is.
I think there'll be something long-standing. Well, the long-standing thing, optimistically, is that politics has been, they're co-opting, they're diluting. There's things like that, but like, and it's not because of Trump. There was this hunger. And Trump, again, in barometer, right? Like Trump,
sure.
Like the mass shootings and Trump and all this barometer. Like, why could he even be on that stage? Why the fuck was he even doing those numbers? It's like, it's not really much to do with him. He's the vessel for the feeling that's bubbling up beneath. So, if him and his like specific thing is, turning into this and it's the moment's past, whatever, I still feel optimistic about the undercurrent that, they're going to do this fucking diluted bullshit and whatever version of the GOP or whatever. Of course, they're going to do that. But it's like the left when they fucking had the squad and like, oh, my God, like you got to vote for the squad, because if you don't, you're going to let these old boomer neolibs stay. And like, you don't want that. Right. So vote for our guy. And then these young fucks come in and they vote like boomer libs. Right. So I've seen this movie before or whatever. And like, that's not it's not enough to convince me to fucking I made this mistake once. I'm never making it again. I'm not going to fucking vote for some watered down version or whatever when I need to hear a little bit more. But yeah, I think the undercurrent is without falling into a pure black pill thing of all this, because I'm sure that's how it sounds. But like the undercurrent of it is strong. And despite all this, I don't really give a fuck about these fucking puppets and these fucking fed politicians or whatever, these glowies or whatever. The undercurrent is still strong. And when somebody comes along from out the blue, like Trump did or whatever, there will be a fucking massive swell under it. I really wholeheartedly believe that. There really will. And I don't know when it's going to come or how it's going to come or whatever, but like it's raw, it's open, it's there for the taking. You know what I mean? So these people, they can, the GOP and the DNC, they can do whatever fucking rebranding they want to do. They can do all this bullshit. I mean, I don't think it has legs. At the end of the day, these people are fucking reptiles. They don't know what normal people are like. They're imitating what humanity is like. That's how they are, right? They're so far removed that they don't even know anything about humanity. So like they can try all these like cheap imitations or whatever. It's fine. It's fine because the real thing is still there. And when it comes along or something more real or whatever, I really believe I'm still optimistic about that. I still believe there's like an avenue there.
Yes.
Like we're talking with Seneca about like, not just harping on him or whatever, but like that overall milieu of like, there's an opportunity. I still believe that. I am not black pilled just because these fucks have some, fake MAGA thing or these fucking squad socialist Democrat libs or whatever. I'm not black pilled by that at all. I'm not. So.
No, the reason why they're doing that and they're donning these new masks is because they have to, because Donald Trump spoke to something that resonated with a lot of people, and he was also in a way co-opting the same energy, but he just did it in a way that it was like less reptilian, because like he's just like
he's too wild.
He just had, and I think he just had more of a genuine desire to do something, and then like an actual tie to his base because of his desire to be a person who was moving and shaking things. Like I think he wanted to do that stuff, and I think that because of that, he had more of a fire as far as like knowing what needed to be done as far as speaking to a base that support him strongly, patronage thing. And yeah, I think that it's a good thing ultimately. I mean, I don't like these slugs. I'm not going to vote for like a Blake Masters or something. But I didn't vote for Trump either, and I'm not going to vote really unless it's someone who, if there was someone who was like Trump that came around now, I would vote for him. But I really need you to be talking to me about direct material interests that I care about for myself for me to vote for you. And if you're not saying that, then like, you got nothing for me. It's not about like, oh, I just like hate voting on principle. I'm just not voting for you unless you give me something. And none of these people are giving me shit. So like, I'm not voting for them. You know, if you're always just coming up here talking about some bourgeois bullshit that's got nothing to do with me and my day-to-day life, I'm not going to vote for you because like that doesn't appeal to me. And you can try to get me like mind trapped into saying I have to vote for one of these people because, you know, lesser of two evils, and they're going to throw up the 3 or 4 cultural things I do and care about in my day-to-day life. And maybe I would go and vote for local representatives or something about some of these things. But like, if it's president or a state politician or elected representative for Congress or Senate, I'm not voting for you unless you like really break the mold and are offering me something significant that speaks to economic populism or speaks to working class individuals' day-to-day lives. That's it. It's got to be something.
And it's what Slav was saying before. Like all these politicians are taking these issues, these culture war wedge issues, and they just give a little crumb, just to say like, hey, I'm signaling that I'm on the other way. And that's supposed to be enough to get the fealty. And it's like, bro, we need to set our standards higher. Like, you know, and even like Bog had made this point of like, you know, like, oh, you know, we're going to have some GOP bill where we like make it harder for the wokey teachers to make TikTok vids or whatever, or be weirdos or whatever. It's like, okay, you know, that's okay. Yeah. Okay, cool. But like, you know, if you're really hard right or whatever, you view the whole school system as rotted out from the core. Right. Yeah. So like, what's this shit really going to do? Nothing. Like you have a whole rotted out system. And maybe I view the rot differently than they do. But I think we agree that the thing is fucked. The whole thing is fucked. And like, you know, which is why they want to do the homeschooling and opt out entirely. But like, it's a thing where like chipping away at the margin where it's like, bro, is this really going to solve the fact that the whole schools are a fucking joke, a fucking clown show? Like, you know what I mean? That it's not about educating anybody for anything practical or whatever. It's like a test. It's a way to you know, fund some private testers or test companies or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it's. But then you get fealty. You get fealty because it's like, man, I'm so angry about this thing I saw it lives a TikTok, and I'm gonna give you my undying loyalty. It's like, man, I don't know, man. Like, I understand why people would do that, but like, I think we need to have a little bit higher standard. And I can understand, you know, between you and me and the arguments we've had about the Trump thing in 2020 or whatever. I understand, like. Again, I always had to kind of back down. You know, I tried to argue of like, no, bro, like Trump, it makes sense to vote for him, whatever. But I always kind of, you know, whenever we really got to a head about it, I had to back down because it's like, I get what your point is. Like, you could have higher standards than Trump. I completely get that. But
yeah, I think there's people just need to have higher standards in general. Like, expect more out of your quality of life. We deserve better. We deserve better politicians. We deserve a more meaningful life. We deserve a country that isn't living in spiritual rot and being looted out by, you know, the highest bidder. We deserve meaningful lives, and so do all the people that you love and care for and all the people in your community. And if we can get united on that, we can come together and start pointing fingers at what the real problems are and try to address those problems.
It's a fact. And Trump, you know, maybe Trump wasn't like, you know, up to stuff with a lot of that stuff. But to me, it made sense. And to me, it was just within that window of like making sense. And, you know, if there's another guy that comes around that's kind of like Trumpish or whatever, I'm down. I don't really give a fuck what's next to his name, really. I'll be down, but I need to see that the GOP.
You gotta be down to really do some shit, though.
And I need the people I hate to hate you. The GOP wanted Trump out. They wanted him out. And I find it so funny that like he was fortified out with the help of the GOP, and a bunch of people that I talked to that were like, you know, kind of to the right of me or whatever. I was like, yo, why aren't you like endorsing Trump more vocally? And they're just like, I don't know. And I was like, yo, this is fortifying. It's wild, isn't it? And they're just, I don't know. All kind of hush about it, kind of brushing it away. And then all of a sudden going hard for the midterms for all these fucking watered down versions or not even watered down. Like a lot of the people that left the left are just like, yeah, I'm going to vote down ballot GOP, even for neocons, which is what the left criticized our whole wing or whole sphere of doing, right? That was the whole argument, is that you guys are just, they told me that I'm just a basic boomer neocon. And I'm going to vote like down ballot for regular boomer neocons. That's what they told me. And I was like, you're fucking nuts. That I'm literally voting for Trump because the GOP doesn't like him. That's literally my reason. But I look around and like a lot of people that like are of the like people that left the left, they tell me that that's what they want to do, that they want to just vote down ballot GOP for any regular old neocon establishment GOP fuck that probably helped fortify Trump out. You know, it's hard for me to understand. And it's also like, why were you against the lefty, like making that criticism if you were just proving him right? I don't understand that. But like, whatever, that's for another topic or whatever. But yeah, I mean, you know, I think the standards should be higher. And if another guy that comes around like Trump and like really pisses off everybody I hate, then I'm down. I don't care what's next to his name. I'm down. But he's gotta upset these people. Mm-hmm. He's gotta really like irk these people. And I'm totally down. I'm absolutely down. You know, he doesn't need to be perfect, but I'd be down. But he'd have to aggravate them the way Trump did. Like he pissed off Mitch McConnell. He pissed off all the media people, all the Democrats. Like he infuriated all of them. So
Fed Post listeners, if you're hearing this, go out and vote. I mean, not vote. Go out and run for a local office. Go out and gather together all your schizo friends and convince some of them to run for local office as well. And
start a schizo party. Yeah.
And honestly, while you're at it, get some of your homies in as deacons.
Yo, I was literally gonna say,
we can use
try to get a stranglehold of your local church,
dude. I'm saying 5-year plan. I want an archbishop beholden to me,
bro. Fed Post party archbishop.
Fed Post party archbishop, dude. About to go into my archbishop era. Let's fucking go, boys.
Holy shit.
Bro, yeah. I've been low key thinking about fucking off and joining some sort of monastery or something like that. So maybe I could get monk pilled and do it.
Get friar pilled.
Yeah, well, dude, that's really what it is. Franciscan friars are based, bro, and they got my eye.
Nice.
But I gotta bounce out of here.
Yeah, we should have off work tomorrow. But yeah, have fun hosting the show without me. See, yeah, you guys will have 3.
Oh yeah.
Actually, we need to talk about this first.
All right, that was part 1 of our episode. If you'd like to listen to part 2, you can find that at patreon.com/fedpost. Thanks for listening.